Okay, so there we go. Uh-oh, my video is messing up. Good evening, everyone, and we just want to thank you guys for joining us here at our REDI Commission, Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. So I want to say welcome to our guests, to our staff, and to our members that are at home watching television. We welcome you to our meeting. I would like to officially call it to order. 6:04, Executive Director. Now we're going to start with our flag salute, and we're going to ask Commissioner Steed to please stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Amen. Thank you for that, Commissioner Steed. May we have our roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Eventov?
Here.
Commissioner Faulkner? Absent. Commissioner Harris?
Here.
Commissioner Lecters is absent. Commissioner Pastorian absent. Vice Chair Steed? Here. Chair Wilson?
Here.
Thank you.
Now we have a presentation this evening from the Department of Veterans Affairs regarding Minority Veterans Program. If you would like to take the podium. Are they here?
I actually don't see them in the audience, so they
Okay.
might be running a little late
Okay.
as well. But we do have our RTA representatives here.
Okay, so
if we do want to move forward with the...
yes, definitely.
I'm sorry, we do have one public comment
Oh,
on
okay.
non-agenda item.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you
Go
want me,
ahead.
are you ready for me to call her up?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
We have one public comment, and her is Laurel Lamont.
Evening, Ms. Lamont.
To be thankful for the REDI Commission, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the affordable tenants that live in Old Town Temecula. It's not easy speaking up here. It's not easy for me, even though I do it a lot. So I've brought some tenants with me and some local workforce with me, one for support, but also so that I can speak on their behalf because it's very nerve-wracking being up here. I've been in the affordable housing building warehouse at Creekside across the street for approximately 3 years. And over the last 3 years, there has been anytime there's a community event that takes over Old Town, the residents don't have access to the building for parking, right? So I spent the last 3 years trying to acquire parking passes for the residents there. And this year, we got it. We got parking passes. But my purpose in being here is it took me 3 years in the building, and that building's been there at least 10 years. And prior to me being in that building and prior to me speaking up, those tenants were charged illegally for parking and yet couldn't access their building every time a community event happened. I reached out multiple times to the representative of this district of those tenants. And most of those tenants don't know who the representative is. They aren't even familiar really with the REDI Commission and the intentions that this commission is here for, a safe place for the underrepresented to speak up. So my purpose in being here is to bring awareness, and then hopefully the commission can also, make their presence more known to the tenants, and then it won't be just me here. It might still be, because it's not easy to do this, but the REDI Commission should be a liaison to the council. And if there's a group of people not feeling represented and not getting a fair shake, then I hope that the REDI Commission can communicate that need. Because we don't talk about the tenants anytime we talk about the events in Old Town. And I would like the tenants to be acknowledged and recognized and not be an afterthought. Thank you.
Thank you. You did a fabulous job.
Chair Wilson, I'm going to go ahead and note for the record that Commissioner Faulkner is here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner Faulkner, for joining us. Are there any more public comments?
No, there isn't.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'd like to ask for approval of our minutes dated March the 10th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Okay, I have a motion by Vice Chair Steed and a second by Commissioner Harris. I'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. Commissioner Evantov,
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Commissioner Faulkner,
Aye.
Commissioner Harris,
Can I? I wasn't here last month. No, so could I have even seconded?
So different commissioners and different council members treat this a little bit differently. Some choose to go ahead and abstain in their entirety. Some choose to go ahead and vote, indicating that they have reviewed the minutes and the meeting. So it's up to you. On if you've reviewed the minutes and you've reviewed the meeting, then you can go ahead and vote aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair Steed,
Aye.
and Chair Wilson.
Aye.
And I'll note that Commissioner Electors and Commissioner Pastorian are absent.
Thank you. And we have a quorum, correct? We do? Okay. Great. Okay. Our next business item is a presentation by the Riverside Transit Agency on public transit within the city of Temecula and provide a general recommendation regarding the same. Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Nguyen. I'm the Director of Planning here at Riverside Transit Agency, or RTA. I'm going to provide some brief background on what RTA does, some of the programs we have, and kind of dive a little bit into Title VI. RTA, so we were established as a joint powers agency on August 15th, 1975, and we officially began service on March 16th, 1977. We actually serve the second largest service area by square miles of Western Riverside County, about 2,500 square miles. Within that service area, it covers about 18 cities and districts 1, 2, 3, and 5. We have 33 local fixed routes, 4 commuter link routes, and our commuter link routes will actually get you from Riverside County over to Orange County and also San Bernardino County. We also have our Dollar Ride service, or our DAR service. This is that curb-to-curb advanced reservation service for our seniors age 65 and above and persons with disabilities. Throughout all the service, we actually have a total bus fleet of 334 buses. Just a little bit about some of the promotions that we are currently running here at RTA. We currently have our free fares for youth and college students. This actually began back in August of 2020 and is scheduled to run through July 31st of 2022. This is funded by the Low Carbon Transit Operations Program, or LCTOP as we call it. So our youth ages 18 and under and our college students who attend participating colleges, which includes Cal Baptist University, La Sierra University, Moreno Valley College, Mount San Jacinto College, Norco College, RCC, and UCR all get to ride for free. This is a great program. We're very excited to date. We've actually provided free rides about to 766,000 youth and college students, which is really great. Another program we are currently running this month in March, on March 16th to be exact, RTA celebrated our 45th anniversary. In honor of that, we actually rolled back our fares to what they were back in 1977, which was a quarter. So right now, our riders can get on a bus, get on board, put a quarter in, and they'll get to ride anywhere on any of our buses. This is a great program. It actually started on March 1st. It was originally scheduled to go through April 30th, but breaking news, we were actually going to be extending that to the end of May. So we're very excited to get our riders on board, and for our Dollar Ride passengers, they get to pay $1 per zone. A little bit about our fiscal year 2022 funding. It's kind of a breakdown of that. You'll see it's mostly local transportation funding at about 43%, federal funding at 53%, and passenger fares at about 4%. This was a very unique year in fiscal year 2022. Normally we don't have that much federal funding, but this year there was all that stimulus funding that was provided to ensure that we can continue to maintain and provide those essential services for our riders. I kind of wanted to bring it back here to the routes that service to the Temecula area. So what you see here, we have routes 23, 24, 55, 61, 79, and 205 and 206. And what you see here as under total passengers is actually the ridership on those routes for the month of March 2022. The next column actually shows you the passengers per revenue service hour, or RSH as we call it. This kind of breaks it even across all the different routes. And you'll actually see Route 55, the Temecula trolley, actually has about 15 passengers per revenue service hour. To kind of give you a little bit kind of comparison, our Route 1, which is one of our main routes, that actually has a passenger per revenue service hour of about 17. How are these routes funded on here? It is predominantly local funding. Also, the city of Temecula does provide that fare revenue for Route 55 so that riders can ride that for free. And there is some slight federal funding in here as well for routes that service a little bit of the rural areas. As we are a recipient of federal funding, we are required by law to follow Title VI, which indicates that no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity, again, receiving that federal financial assistance. This is really grounded in everything that we do here at RTA, from the service we provide to our procurement process. It really ensures that we're equitable in all that we do and that we aren't disproportionately affecting any one group or any protected population. To meet the Title VI requirements, we are also required to submit a Title VI program update. This is done every 3 years and submitted to the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA. A part of our Title VI update does include a complete demographic analysis of our service area. So this is that 2,500 square miles of Western Riverside County. So what you see here is actually, we broke it down, what's the minority population in our service area that we provide service to. And in our service area, that's about 64% that identify as minorities. We're gonna take a little bit further. You'll see here on your screens is a map. And actually this shows the areas in blue are areas that actually are above that 64% average minority population. So the darker the blue is, that higher percent of minorities in that area. On the same note, to help meet environmental justice, we also look at low-income populations in our service area. So here, throughout the 2,500 square miles, you'll actually see about 24% are low income. And in the same way, this map shows you on there, the areas of red are areas that have a higher percent of low income, so higher than that 24%. The darker the red, the higher that percent of low income is. We also evaluated and looked at our ridership. So initially, we looked at the entire service area. We also surveyed our riders on board, so who's riding with RTA. We actually completed a market assessment in 2018 where we surveyed our riders, and so what did we find? So we actually found among our riders, nearly 83% identify as minority. You'll see that's a huge jump from the service area. The service area was about 64%, but our riders, you're looking at about nearly 83% are minority. Sorry. And again, on the same note, we also looked at low income. So for our riders, nearly 80% are low income. In the service area itself, that number was 24%. So that really shows us that a lot of our riders are minority and low income. They really depend upon the services that we provide. Also, part of the Title VI is we do complete an equity analysis. And again, this is really to determine if the changes that we're making in our services, do they have any disparate impacts on our minority populations? Are we disproportionately burdening our low-income populations? So we'll actually complete a service equity analysis with each service change that we do. And we do 3 a year. And so we'll actually analyze the changes we're making, we'll evaluate that and see, is there a significant difference in those different populations? We also complete this in a fare equity analysis. So for those times if we ever raise our fares or if we change the way we collect fares, you have to perform a fare equity analysis again to make sure we're being equitable across all the different populations. And again, bringing it back to Temecula here, I want to also provide you with information for the routes that serve the Temecula area. So what percent are we seeing of our riders on these routes? And you'll see it's a pretty high percent of the riders here. Again, you see I have Route 23, for example, 80% of those riders are minority and 93% are low income. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a breakdown for each of the Temecula routes. And again, this is per ridership surveys that we collected in 2018. So on behalf of our CEO, Kristen Wrzezinski, and I did want to thank all the commissioners here for having us here today. A special thank you to Chair Schwenk, your Mayor Pro Tem, and our Chair of the Board for introducing us to the REDI Commission. And again, a thank you to Randy. Thank you for the time to meet with us and as we work together to continually enhance our equity efforts here at RTA. I'm available to take any questions, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. Commissioners, I'm sure you guys have some questions. Yes. Commissioner Adam.
First off, I just want to let folks know how great a job RTA does with responding to their ridership. During the height of the COVID pandemic, the RTA got a complaint, really, asking for masks for people who were caught unaware and had to get on the bus and stuff. Within a week, you guys had masks all ready for folks in responding. And not only do you provide that service, but you actually provide a sense of community. People get together on the bus, and that's kind of their third place when they're between home and work. One of the things that when you're collecting data, do you ever collect data by age and by disability or number of folks that might be physically impaired by somehow?
Yes, so we actually do have that survey that we completed is actually a lot more comprehensive. It goes into depth about age, about disability, where you're riding, what your purpose for your trip. So it's a lot more in depth, and it has excellent information. And we really use that because we want to know who are our riders, who's riding with RTA, why are you riding with RTA? What can we do to improve our services to meet your needs? And so rider surveys and just surveys in general from our riders and our non-riders is extremely important. And it really grounds the work that we do and guides our services. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Commissioner? Yes.
Hi.
Go ahead, Ivy.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I absolutely appreciate it. I think that it was pretty thorough. And I know Councilman Zach Schwenk has been working a lot with RTA. And I remember in our first meeting, I brought up transit within Temecula. So it has a particular, part in my heart for people who are trying to get around the city. So I apologize beforehand the amount of questions that I have, because I'm generally very curious and also just interested to see how you guys deal with, complaints and how quickly you guys are able to assess what the community needs and then turn over really quickly. But I just wanted to take the time to say thank you. This is absolutely amazing, and having grown up here for over 20 years, I have seen the extreme transition to having what seemed like zero options when it came to public transit to driving now by Stater Bros and seeing a bus stop, and then there was just a bus stop, and then we had a covered bus stop. For people who are waiting out in the sun. That's absolutely amazing. And just being able to see in real time how you guys adapt to the needs of everyone within the community. Thank you.
Of course.
So I guess my first question is, do you by chance have a map of the stops within Temecula?
I can definitely provide one for you.
Yeah, I would be curious.
The other option too, that in case you want to see one readily on your phone or access it while you're riding, we also have the Bus Watch app, and you can actually go on there and it'll actually show you the entire route. It tells you where your bus is, how far away it is, so you can actually see it in real time as it comes, depending on which route you're traveling on. And it will actually show all the bus stops along that route, but I can provide definitely an overview image of the routes in the Temecula and the bus stops within there.
That would be great. Thank you. And I'll also do my due diligence and look at that as well. I guess my next question would be, what do y'all take into consideration when you're creating these bus stops? As it's very new within Temecula that we're making a full-blown effort to make sure that there's bus stops for individuals.
So part of it, well, I guess it's twofold. So one, we do have a lot of customer comments, and so we'll hear back from people, and if there's something they need in a certain area, we'll evaluate it. We'll see, is it something we can do, and we'll try to make it happen. And it really depends on how many customer comments we receive, and we keep track of it too as well. The other thing that we also, we'll be completing a comprehensive operational analysis very soon. Things have really changed since COVID. And so that will actually analyze our entire service area, our routes, and really provide recommendations on that, on where we should service, if we should be expanding anywhere as well. That will guide us in there. But definitely I would say customer comments, we look at that. We listen to our community as well. We do outreach during service changes, really to get that feedback to see what they need. Are we meeting their needs? The service changes that we're making, how do they feel about that? So with, every year when we do our budget, the short range transit plan, we actually project out the service changes we're gonna make, and then we'll do that part of outreach with them too.
Was there an initial DEI focus? So for example, we know that our low income, affordable housing is in Old Town. So we're primarily gonna put maybe more bus stops down there, and then also take into consideration maybe service areas where, for example, those individuals need to go, like grocery stores,
That is
markets,
a
things like that.
great point. And yes, so whenever we have a development coming in, they actually will let us know that they're going to be building in this area, and then they'll tell us what can we provide, a bus turnout, something like that. So we'll definitely look into that. Affordable housing, for sure, without a doubt. I'm very proud to say that actually we recently won an affordable housing. We partnered together with the city and a housing developer who is putting in affordable housing, and we are putting a stop right in front of that. And it's really to provide those residents with a form of transportation. Also, part of that grant, they will be provided with bus tickets, bus fares. So each unit in that affordable housing will have a ticket every month. It's a 30-day bus pass that they can use. And again, we have that one stop that is directly there for them to access. So it's a great partnership, and it's definitely something that, as we grow, Riverside County is growing tremendously. And affordable housing is definitely key. You guys saw our ridership, a lot of it is low income and minority, and so that's definitely a target area for us, and we definitely partner on those efforts as well.
So as I reviewed the map, it looked like it definitely had a portion that was Old Town. So as you know, just from analysis, that's an environmental justice area. So are the buses carbon zero?
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm the CEO. It's nice to be here. Thank you. I'm good. I was getting jealous. Jennifer's getting all the good questions. You're doing great. So that's a great question. Jennifer listed all of the things that we have to do to try to, keep an eye on the decisions that we're making and make sure that we're looking at who we're affecting. But RTA, as you've seen, has been around since 1977, and there's certainly more work for us to do, and which is part of the reason of our interest in this commission. I've had conversations with Chair Schwenk, as I call him, and we have a common interest in doing something similar to what you all are doing at RTA, because more can be done. As far as the buses go, we have, they're called low-no CNG. So we don't have diesel, they're a low-no CNG bus, and the board approved a transition to hydrogen fuel cell, which is a net zero emission bus. So we are moving towards that. It's going to take some time for us to get the capital funding, but starting in 2026, we'll have hydrogen out. And there will be analysis on where we use those buses and how we roll that out to make sure that we're being equitable there too.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I guess my next small section would just be centered around the vouchers. So what is the process of getting these vouchers for individuals who want free rides?
So the voucher programs that we work with tend to be like Inland Regional or the County of Riverside, and then typically people would apply through there. We don't have a voucher program directly through RTA. We run the promotions like Jennifer told you about. And then we partner, if we partner on grants, then sometimes those grants will pay for a chunk of passes. So the affordable housing that she mentioned, that's a specific community, and it's that developer and that community, the East Side community in Riverside, will be monitoring and giving out the vouchers. Because we serve 22 different jurisdictions, it's kind of an all or nothing when it comes to voucher programs, and being able to monitor where everything goes and decide who should get it is not really our profession or something that we feel like we specialize in. So it's usually county programs or Inland Regional.
Right. So I'm just thinking about, like, I'm a youth and I know that I get free bus pass. So how do I even begin that process?
So the promotion that we're doing right now, there really is no requirement. You just get on the bus.
Okay, so if you're just a youth, the bus driver won't give you any issues. I know that we're doing the coin, like the quarter, that ends at the end of May. Mm-hmm. So then it would go back to regular fare for individuals who could pay. So yeah. What would be the process for someone, like, if they didn't pay, what would the intervention look like at that point?
So we try to train our drivers to lead with compassion. What they're trained to do is advise next time, the fare is $1.75 or $1.50 or whatever, depending on where they're at, right, and what they pay, and then let them ride. Because we're already running the bus, we're already going from end to end on the route. We may gain somebody who that's their very first time and they're, having a hard day or whatever, and they get on and then they realize, hey, I love this. So we try to just encourage people to get on and advise that, this is the fare in the future.
Right, that's absolutely great. So it's my understanding that there's an environment within RTA that if there's a low-income individual, maybe homeless, who may not be able to pay the fare at that point, that the bus driver will be more understanding and there won't necessarily be interaction with local law enforcement, because for a lot of people who are low income, it can become really contentious when they're getting on public transit and they can't pay. That might be a point where there's an issue. So it's great to know that there's some leniency and like some acceptance that individuals can't pay. It's not a moment to criminalize. Thank you. That's my last question. I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any more?
I got a couple. You want to go? I got a long list. So.
You have a long list?
Just real quick, when they refill up on renewable natural gas, at their stations, they're using actually renewable natural gas, which is collected methane. It's not stuff that's pumped out of the ground. So it's actually carbon negative. Just
Thank you for
shop
that.
talk.
Okay. Commissioner Steve or Commissioner Faulkner, which one?
I'll be faster
You have
than
he
him.
has a long list, and I think you're going to go after me.
Okay, so a couple of things. I was on your website today checking it out, which is beautiful. Pretty easy to navigate, but I don't know if it's user error or what, but I could only find Route 205 and 206. So was I just not going to the right place on your website to see Route 23 and 24? Yeah, user error.
No worries. I'll let our marketing department know they need to work on that. Yeah, so there's a section on it. It'll show you like schedules under there, and it'll actually list out every single route. And when you click on it, it will actually pull up a map for that specific route. The other option too is to download the full ride guide, and then that one actually has links in it too, so you can actually click whichever route you want, and it will take you to that page as well.
Okay.
But I can send the link to
That'd be great.
direct link to where it lists all the routes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Because if I can't find it, there's going to be
Yeah.
others just like me. And then just to reiterate, definitely Pujol Street is a huge issue for us in regards to we want to make sure that people have
access to be able to get on the bus, or even where our apartment complexes are. We feel very strongly about those areas, so we definitely want to make sure that that continues to happen, and that it's on the route. I love that you guys do an equity analysis. That's amazing. Like, that is so huge. And how long have you been doing that?
Since it's a requirement for the federal funding, so as
Wow.
far as I can remember.
That's
since Title
amazing.
VI began.
And it takes like the rest of us so long to catch up, but that's commendable. So
Thank you.
that's really, really good. I love that. And then one more thing, in regards to people that are visually impaired, I saw on your website that you cater to people with special needs. So what do you do for the visually impaired? Is there Braille signs for the bus routes, or is there special instructions when they get on the bus? How do you handle something like that?
This is a very timely question. We were just at the Blindness Support Services in Riverside. We met with them to get their feedback, and they cover Riverside County, on things that we could improve upon or change and how things are going for them on the bus. You don't always realize exactly what someone is going through, so it's always very interesting to sit with them. Some of the things we've done Braille. We make sure that the buses announce all the bus stops, the upcoming bus stops, and we make sure that when the doors open at a bus stop, it says, this is Route 1 headed to UCR, so that they know what they're getting on, where they're going. We have some of the apps, like the Bus Watch app. I believe there's a feature to press it and it will talk, so it'll tell them things about our service and about where they're at and when the service is coming. We've also done training. So we'll teach them how to board the bus, how to ride the bus, where the bus stops are at, how to get from stop to stop. Blindness Support Services also does a great job. They have a travel training program, they call it, where they go out and they'll ride with somebody and teach them how to use it. And we help support that effort and help teach the trainers, sort of train the trainers is what we call it. So we try to do a lot of work and really try to understand how we can improve things for them.
Love it. Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay. I'll go before Commissioner Faulkner because he has a long list. So first of all, yeah, he's used to being last because he has a long list. So mine will be short and sweet. So first of all, congratulations for 45 years for the RTA. That's awesome. And then number two, I wanted to tell you that my son, within the last month and a half, has been using Dial-A-Ride because he qualifies through the services for Inland Regional Center, and we didn't know about that. So it was a seamless process. Got the application, Regional Center filled out what they needed, and so now he gets vouchers, and that's how the process worked. He gets vouchers every month, and the vouchers consist of whatever the value is, and then he calls Dial-A-Ride and get a ride from home to work. He works here at the city and then back home. So in the month and a half, he's loving it. Even though he's practicing how to drive, he should get his license this year sometime, praying. But the service it's been nothing but fabulous for him. He loves it. And then another thing that I wanted to share is, I named everything here, number 4. Okay, how do you get the word out to the community about these specials, the rate that's going on right now? Because I haven't seen anything in the mail, but I do know about it because my son used Dial-A-Ride. But how do you get that out there to the public?
Our marketing team, we do a lot of promotions. They send out, we have it on social media, Facebook, Twitter. You may have seen some billboards on the freeway that we're also promoting the 25-cent fare. And when we alert our riders through rider alerts, through email, so we do a very robust outreach on that one and promotion. This has been going very well, the 25-cent promotion. We're actually seeing some of the highest ridership levels since the beginning of the pandemic. So this has been going very well, and also part of the reason why we wanted to extend it as well.
Okay, great. That shows that there's a great need here. And my other question, in one of your slides, you talked about the red areas for the low income. What area is that red area? Because it just had, the map, and the red area was right there.
That's broken down by census block groups, but we can definitely pull that data and then probably provide you a better, clearer map. I'm sorry, it's very small on there. And I can definitely provide that breakdown by census blocks, or actually I'll probably filter it for Temecula.
Okay,
they're
that's
considered.
great, because being on the REDI Commission, areas like that are targeted areas that we want to make sure everyone is getting the same service as everyone else in Temecula. And since they've already been identified as a low-income area, then what is it that we can do with the city? There might be other needs or concerns that they may need. Okay. And then my last question is, I think your statistics, the last statistics was from 2018. Are you looking to do more statistics, because it's like 4 years? Okay.
So it's actually required by Title VI that you update your rider survey information. We also did just recently complete another onboard rider survey in 2021, and at the end of quarter 2021. So we are constantly updating that, and we're actually going to begin the next update on our Title VI, which will have more up-to-date census data. So I may be providing you with both forms of data.
That's great, because we would love for you to come back and give another presentation, if that's okay with our executive director. You guys did fabulous as a tag team. Now, I'm going to turn you over to Commissioner Faulkner now.
Need 2 hours. No. So, as a rider of public transportation, I know the impact it has on lives. It's particularly the likelihood of employment for those who can't afford it. So I was a public transportation person in high school because my parents wouldn't buy me a car. So either walk to work 20 miles or get your butt on the bus. So, and then I gave my son a car, and he ended up wrecking it. So he was going to Riverside Community College. I said, hey, dropping you off at the mall, you're going to get on the RTA and get your butt to college. So, so he also had that experience until he bought his own car, because I wasn't giving him another. So let's get to the questions. So has there been any impact on on transit RTA based on COVID, people calling off work, and how has that impacted routes and things of that nature as well?
That's a great question. Yes, so when the pandemic hit, we went down to Sunday level service because our ridership plummeted. Everybody, everyone went to stay at home and there was nobody out, and so we reduced. And I think that quick reaction by the board and by staff was really important, because we reserved a lot of resources and then we've been building back. As far as employees go, because of the last 2 years of federal COVID stimulus money that we've gotten, we didn't actually lay off drivers. So even though we reduced service, we put them to use doing additional cleaning. We clean our buses daily, but we did additional cleaning and had them out informing passengers, helping with, handing out masks and telling people where stops are, and just all kinds of things to utilize them so that we didn't do layoffs. And a lot of them also had, they would get COVID or have a leave, or someone in their family would, and so we had more people out than normal as well, so it kind of worked out. We're just getting to the point where we need to look at hiring some drivers just through attrition, just having retirements and, people moving on. There certainly was a group of boomers that I think the pandemic changed perspective a bit, so we had an influx of retirements as well. But so far, RTA has done a really good job of providing our service. We've had a few times where we've had all the operations supervisors out driving and all hands on deck to make sure we got it done. But we've done better than I've seen some of the other transit agencies, and they've struggled, not able to find drivers because they laid off and then tried to rehire, as they came out of the pandemic, and they've struggled. It's been hard to find drivers. So far, we've done a good job.
Thank you for that. A lot of low-income personnel who don't have the money to afford cars are forced into cars because access to public transportation in areas and having to walk distances and things like that. So when we're evaluating these areas, how are we making sure that it's in specific areas where these people can actually get to those sites to be able to take action on using public transportation?
So the comprehensive operational analysis that Jen mentioned, that we're about to do another one, that was a 10-year plan. It was a short, a mid, and a long-range plan, and it looked into that. It looked into development plans, city plans. We get from all of the the planning department's development reviews, they call it, whenever there's a new development, and we can comment, hey, we need a bus stop, hey, can you put connecting sidewalk, because our stop down the street is there, but if someone's in a wheelchair, they can't get there with this dirt. So we try to get as much done through development as we can. And then we have our own bus stop improvement program as well that is half based on ridership, but the other half based on equitable distribution. It was important to the board that we focused on both and that we tried to spread out our resources. So those are all things that we look at. Infrastructure is really the limiting factor in some of these areas. We can't meet ADA requirements because it's dirt. The ones that are already there, sometimes those do okay, but to put in something new and have to go through an approval process and not be able to meet ADA, because even if we put a landing pad in enough, for us, it doesn't connect to anything. You're putting them on an island, and we can't do that either.
Right. Thank you for that. I was researching. It says public transportation saves over 6 billion gallons of gasoline a year. So how are we making it and marketing and communicating to make it more attractive to citizens to use public transportation versus opting to, get in debt buying cars they can't afford?
So one of the main ways that RTA's kind of gotten ahead of that is our Go Pass, You Pass program, the college program, because we're building ridership at a younger level. And then we have also, as more and more school districts are having limitations on their funding, we're trying to route as best we can to make sure that we're an option for high schoolers and middle schoolers. And we're seeing a lot more of that actually than we have before. And so that's one of the ways, really, I think, getting them young and getting them to understand the bus and to know that it's safe and it's an option is really important to building long-term ridership. Other things, fare promotions help a whole lot. Trying to promote the cleanliness and the safety of the bus. We did a safety campaign. Our buses are very clean, and they really are, and they're clean daily. And I don't think everyone can say that, but we can proudly say that. So we try to do what we can to promote it, and I'm sure that there's more that I'm not thinking of. Go ahead, Neil. Yeah.
I think the other key thing that we also focus on too is when you're traveling, making it comfortable, having shelters so that while you are waiting for your bus, you're shaded, you're protected from the elements. Key destinations, making them like mobility hubs where you can connect together. We're very excited because our Vine Street Mobility Hub, we're beginning construction, and that will also feature like a community park. So while you're waiting, you have areas you can sit and wait at, make it comfortable, make it relaxing, drought-tolerant landscaping, shade structures, all of those things, I think, to make it more comfortable so you're more willing to wait for your bus connections. And I think, those first mile, last mile connections, all that is really important too.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And you talked about safety. Another point I want to touch on, there's been some, we look at some of the social media posts where people are being attacked on public transportation and things of that nature. So what are we doing to make sure that our buses are safe and our citizens that ride them can feel like they're in a safe space, not only for them, but for the drivers that you employ? How are we keeping them safe from those types of situations as well?
Yeah, that is something, before the pandemic, at the federal level, they were looking at adding barriers as a requirement for drivers to protect them. And then the pandemic hit, and it really became, okay, let's get these barriers. These are essential workers. They're out there every day. So we did put barriers in our whole fleet, and that's something we're going to move forward with even once the pandemic is gone, just because for safety reasons, it's really a lot better for the drivers. They feel better, especially the night, some of the women. It's just a better situation having that barrier there. We do have mobile security. We have good relationships with all of the police departments in the cities that we serve, so we call them if we need to. Most of the time, if we have a disturbance on the bus, pulling over, opening the doors, and having the driver radio to dispatch to call the police department, that person usually gets off and starts running at that point. We've been pretty fortunate as far as incidents on the bus, and our drivers are just really special. They're really good at de-escalating. They're trained to do that.
Yeah.
They stay very calm. I give them all the credit for also helping in those situations,
Okay, and there are cameras on your bus?
Yes.
All your buses, great,
inside and outside.
awesome. And in addition to safety, so is there a collaboration between RTA and cities to maintain the stops, the bus stop sites? Who controls that?
We maintain the bus stops.
Bus stops?
Yeah, so we take out the trash, we do the cleaning, we do graffiti removal as soon as we know about it. We take shelters and we do refurbishments every year. We repaint them, send them down. We put out new ones where needed, and so we're responsible for maintaining the stops, keeping them clean, and if anybody ever sees one, please call me. That needs, cleaning.
And got it. I just bring it up because some areas, and some cities have the homeless issue, and a lot of times bus stops are a place of haven for them to hang out. So I just wondering who makes sure that that people are waiting there, they're able to use the benches, they use the site to be comfortable while they're waiting on transportation. So thank you for that. As far as input from our citizens, how are you gathering that to ensure that what you provide as a service is meeting their needs?
So for that one, I did mention we do robust outreach during our service changes and during the fiscal year budget. We also have a customer information center where people call in, so if you do see anything, please do let us know. That's very important. That's where our riders can provide feedback on the services they need, the things they're seeing. We track every single comment and we respond when they want a response. And so I'm actually very proud of us for doing that, because that feedback actually helps us establish where we move forward, what we want to do. Also, when we do complete the comprehensive operational analysis, that will also include a very robust outreach process too, to get feedback, like this is, what the plan is, what do you see, what's missing. Our riders know what they need, our community knows what they need, and we're here to provide that service to the best of our abilities. And so that for us, customer feedback is very key.
Thank you. Last question I have is, I saw all the data on low income and minorities, but was any specific data on the usage rate of disabled special needs in regards to, do you have any data on the usage rate on how often they use it, what the numbers are in Temecula specifically, not all of Riverside? Just want to see the usage rates there and make sure they have access to the transportation as well. So if you have that information. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Faulkner. You guys have any questions for us?
I do.
Who did? Who had a question?
I just wanted to know how, in your eyes, how this commission kind of came about and what sort of your goals are as a commission for the city as we look to build something similar for RTA.
Okay, great. I think probably each one of us have a little bit that we wanted to share on that. Randy, did you want to start, or?
No, actually, my question was going to be if we can ask a follow-up question on how we can actually support you in getting out more awareness of these programs, these services. What do you need from us as a commission to go ahead and support you? But they can give you, you can give us that after they give you their thoughts on the commission.
Okay, great. That is very good, Executive Joe. Who wants to go first? I'll start. So basically, the REDI Commission was started because we wanted to make sure that everyone in our community had a voice. And I think this has been a year and a half, almost 2 years, and we've met for hours and hours at a time every month. And we were just making sure no stone went unturned. We wanted to make sure the areas of Temecula was basically heard. If there's a gap, if there's a breakdown, we wanted to we created a list basically of who, could we reach out to, who could be on that target. Single moms, single dads, military, people, homeless, just people that we felt that we could add some value here, be a listening voice to them. So that's my take on the REDI Commission, to be here. And just by having different people in the city of Temecula and within our city give us presentations on what their companies are about and how we can incorporate what you're doing into what the REDI Commission is doing. So we thank you for being here to present. Who's next? Okay.
So a lot of things happened when we were formed, and it just kind of all came together at the same time, but it was called REDI, Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and it encompasses all of those things. So our job is really to look at, through our REDI lens, of when we're looking at the city's programs and its policies, do they reflect the REDI lens? And are we including everybody within our city? And that's everybody from low income on up to people that make the most money in the city. Like it's everybody. It is all inclusive. We don't leave anybody out. And we're just citizens that give our time and our opinions and our efforts to represent the people that don't have time to come to the city government, that don't have time to sit here and give their opinions or shout loud because their needs aren't being met. So, for example, we had a lady that spoke at the start of the meeting. We're available for people to come to us, just like the city council is available for people to come to them. And so maybe the city council aren't available to everybody. We're just another branch of that people have access to us, and then we pass that information along. So our hope is that we serve that purpose, that we see everything through the REDI lens, and therefore making it a better place for everybody in this community to live in.
Nicely said. Commissioner Faulkner?
I just echo what everybody's already said, but again, race, equity, diversity, and inclusion is a situation for everyone. Again, it's all about making sure people belong, right? And some of the things we've talked to you about with our special needs, minorities, low income, and it goes on and on, religious faiths, to make sure people had a space in our city. And it's all about, again, what are the barriers? How do we remove them? How do we provide that insight to the council members to give them feedback on what we're hearing from our citizens and how we can continue to work together to build a community that's for all? And the best way to do that is, again, get out in the weeds and have conversations. Sometimes it's uncomfortable conversations of topics that people don't want to talk about, so we can get down to the nitty-gritty of how we can continue to work to move those obstacles out of the way to ensure that we continue to be one of the greatest cities in the United States of America. So that is a responsibility of every citizen, but we are elected to be that voice for them to provide that feedback to our city council to continue to walk step to ensure that Temecula is that city that people want to come to. We provide opportunities and resources and capability for any one of our citizens, their kids, their families to be successful and be resilient in this city. So, and that's what we do. That's what we've been tasked to do, and that's what we're proud of doing and being a part of it. It's unique because you look across the country, most cities have not taken up this work because it is a difficult task to really get people on the same sheet of music to not think this is something that's bringing something negative to the community. It's not. It's identifying gaps. It's identifying obstacles. It's identifying ways that we can work better to be better for all our citizens. So I'm proud that our city leadership took this up. It wasn't easy for them. So it was a hard decision to make because they knew what would come of it would be scrutiny. But we've gotten through that. We've weathered the storm, and we continue to move forward to ensure that one of the things, like you're here presenting to us, transportation, right? Transportation is a concern for us. We need to ensure that all of our citizens have access to RTA to ensure that they can get to employment. If they can't take their jobs, if they can't get their kids where they need to be because they can't afford a car or an automobile, it puts them in a position of not feeling like they belong here. So you're one of the subsets of things we look at to identify any gaps and to share information. But it's great to hear that you start with a lens of looking at equity, looking at how you can impact those areas within communities that don't have access to transportation. So it's good to know that you start with that lens and then you work towards everything else. So that falls right in line with what we're trying to do, and definitely would like to see how we can continue to be a tentacle and expand your reach here in Temecula to get the word out and communicate what you're doing and the great things you're doing to provide transportation for our citizens here. We look at our city. We're not looking at comparing anything else. Our focus is Temecula. So a lot of people want to compare and things like this. No, our lens is Temecula. We are here to support our citizens in our city, and if someone can learn from what we're doing to expand what they're doing in the race, equity, diversity, and inclusion space, that would be great as well. So thank you for being here today. We appreciate the presentation, and really looking forward to seeing the great things you guys are going to continue to do for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Faulkner. Commissioner Harris?
Hi, so I think that I'm going to speak about it in a little bit of a different way. I'm going to start off by quoting my grandmother, Miss Tina. She's from New Orleans. She goes, I'm going to say it how I'm going to say it, which is, I see REDI twofold, right? So we focus on equity, and that's tangible, that's transportation, that's housing, that's employment, that's the census, that's policing, right? And we're identifying barriers and, providing a voice for individuals who historically have felt, marginalized and maybe alienated from the conversation. So there's that part, but I also think that essentially there's something that we do that is grounded in healing, just like a deep sense of healing within the community where there's people who don't feel recognized. They may have been, harmed by misunderstandings just of one another. It's about having conversations within our community, having conversations with our neighbors, being open and putting the work in, and I will call it work, because it is sometimes, in having some painful conversations or difficult conversations with others where sometimes, you have to recognize where maybe you have been ignorant. And sometimes you have to hear people also being ignorant. But that is okay, because we're speaking with each other, we're educating each other, and we're creating a cohesive environment where you don't have to be afraid, where you don't have to know the answers to everything, and we're creating safe spaces. So for me, it's twofold. It's getting down and doing the nitty-gritty facts, numbers, statistics, but it's also just believing in our community and our ability to come together, our ability to see each other and be human and love each other as neighbors. So that's it.
Thank you so much for that. Now, how can we help you? Oh, did I? Adam?
It's hard to top all of that. I'm kind of standing on the shoulders of all the work that you guys have done over the last year or so. In a nutshell, just making sure that the processes, whether it's looking at your marketing, looking at your analysis, that you keep in mind Title VI in all things you do, but also then trying to be parsimonious, doing the most that you can with what you got, and allocating those resources fairly, whether it's here in town, making sure that we're giving the same resources everywhere else on the east side of the freeway, that happens on the west side of the freeway. So in many ways, it really is making sure you're marketing. Are you marketing to the audiences that you need? Have you identified all the subgroups of audiences? Have you really routed that out? So anyway, but you guys have been doing Title VI longer than we've been in existence, so you already got a good head start. Anyway.
Okay. So how can we help you, the REDI Commission?
Well, thank you all for that. That was a beautiful answer,
Thank you.
truly. I think that the best way is for us to stay in communication and to understand when we're doing our outreach, when we're doing that planning, that COA, where we're planning our future, that we understand where we should be holding the public meetings, if we should be attending certain groups. You know, improving our communication, I think would be so helpful, just to know where to, you know, point our efforts and what to focus on to make sure that we're getting feedback from the, you know, a good representation of your city. Instead of just, oh, let's just do it at City Hall and, you know, check the box and move on. We would prefer, you know, even if it's multiple meetings, but knowing that we're getting meaningful feedback from people who are going to use our service or who might, if we make some changes, would be what we would want.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Chair Wilson, if I can, we've noted several follow-up items from this presentation, so we will work with Kristen and Jennifer to go ahead and get those follow-up items back to you all and distribute them via email. And then I have to, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that you guys are showing a lot of courage in moving forward and doing this work. It was a pleasure to meet via Zoom with you and who we refer to as Mayor Pro Tem Schwenk and your Chair Schwenk, and move forward in this process. But the number one thing I think our City Council has said over and over and over again is quality of life, quality of life. It is so important that all segments of our community have a solid quality of life. And there is commonality, despite ideology, in making sure that people have a quality of life. So if you can engage your board and your writers in a good quality of life discussion and an equity core value that follows in that quality of life master plan, and things like that will bring folks on board as well. So again, thank you, and we will definitely be reaching out.
Great. Thank you so much, Executive Director Joe. Now I think we are ready for commissioners' reports. Who would like to start? So, okay, so Commissioner Lyman will start because he's not here. Yeah, and I have his, you're like, he's not here, how is he gonna start? So, but he did submit his report, so let me try and get through this. He wanted to make sure he was accounted for. He's probably watching this somewhere. So, this is for Commissioner Lyman. Blue Ribbon Committee, I was able to sit in on the last 2 committee meetings, a wonderful opportunity to learn more about Temecula, the past and the present, and to see firsthand the opportunities ahead for Temecula. I like the process and the engagement and the comments by the city staff and the consultant. What I wondered is if the committee might be a little more diverse racially. Most groups appear to be represented, but by only one person, which to me suggests another opportunity to practice authentic inclusion and engagement. The next event was his cultural event. My wife and I attended both Beer and Hymns and Poetry with Purpose in Old Town. Both were wonderful and well attended. They created space for cultural expressions and a lot of fun. Beer and Hymns focused on celebrating St. Patrick's Day with an Irish theme and a blend of hymns, classic rock, and Irish songs. Did you go? And also Poetry with a Purpose was open mic space for artists to share spoken words and poetry. Very cool and a lot of amazing talent in our area. My wife, which is Commissioner Lyman's, my wife even shared a spoken word, and I shared invitation to the Cultural Fest with the organizers of both groups. He also attended the Coffee with Mayor Ron. I was Mayor Ron, and I was able to join an organized coffee event and at the Starbucks. He said this was well put together. He got an opportunity to discuss the traffic issues and other great learning opportunities, another great learning opportunity as well, and also to hear about the opportunities. It was well attended and really well organized, facilitated by the city staff, so kudos to them. People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, Undoing Racism. He attended the first in-person meeting of the People's Institute National Board of Directors in Washington, D.C. Of note, there was discussion of expanding community-based operations in Southern California, so stay tuned. He attended the Nevada Racial Equality Workplace. He presented on navigation, the work of racial justice to the Nevada statewide work group. He's been very busy. And then for Easter, he took his grandchildren to the city of Temecula, sponsored Easter egg hunt at Harveston. It was so well attended again. My thank you to the city staff and volunteers who made it happen. Really nice job done. So sorry that I couldn't be here. Thank you, guys. So that's from Commissioner Lyman. He's been busy. Yeah, so who wants to follow that? Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. I'll jump
Well, don't feel that you have to report anything. No.
Right, yeah. So attended the Urban Forest Management seminar that we had here at City Hall a few weeks back. And one of the things that everybody was really looking at was having a equitable distribution of plant life, which goes towards environmental justice and it goes to social justice, just trees. We're talking just trees, but where to put them. And so there was just a strong and a really good vibe about making sure that that was equitably distributed throughout the city. Then also attended the community center groundbreaking over at Mike Nagar Park. That used to be the YMCA building that had some troubles, and now it's being redeveloped. The fact that it's located where it is amongst several apartment buildings and such is beautifully located. Commissioner Sizemore spoke at that one and did a terrific job, as well as our city council. Been monitoring a few transportation things, such as the Southern California Associated Governments, which is a planning agency, is looking at vehicle miles traveled and also congestion fees in dense areas, let's say downtown LA, where you'd have to actually pay to get into downtown LA, and you pay an extra fee, and then you have another fees to park, and it's social justice and its impact on poor communities. And then also the clean air folks. Obviously, I do a lot of environmental stuff. We're really looking at actually last mile and autonomous vehicles, and how autonomous vehicles might fill a niche where they might be a little more flexible to provide services for folks who need transportation, but fit a niche that public transportation can't provide. All electric, we'll forgive them for that. Kidding. And I work for SoCal Gas, that's the joke. And so fascinating stuff going on there. And also, I just wanted to say thank you to the board for covering in March. I was unfortunately quarantining at the time, very embarrassing. But I thank you guys for covering and presenting.
Commissioner Faulkner, go take it away.
Well, you were quarantined. I just got off quarantine. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, hey, COVID's a real thing. I got 2 negative tests, so I'm good. No symptoms. I just want to make sure everybody. That's why I have my mask. I'll be putting it back on once it's done. No, we haven't. See, he wasn't even at the last meeting. Stop it. So I had a chance to attend a diversity, equity, and inclusion discussion on Eventbrite. Some good discussions across the country in regards to the work they're doing. And you know, in one of the topics was saying just having uncomfortable conversations and just how you change things one step at a time. Getting to a space where someone disagrees with you and having a conversation about the disagreement and finding out that we're in agreement with a lot of things, and how can we walk back and get a good understanding of how we do this work. So one of the ladies that was on there, she was a white female who adopted a black daughter. and she had kids before. But this walk she was doing was way different than with her kids who were white as well. And it opened her eyes up, and the experience that a black young lady had to walk through and had to go through, and she was able to experience it. And her eyes were not open until she adopted this child to see that that it was a difference in the community that she lived in, and how the impact that it had on this young black child that was, a minority in the majority community. So I say that is, as we're doing this work and as citizens, let's continue to look at, not get tunnel vision, right? To say that, oh, everything's going okay with me, that means everything's great for everyone else. We have to get into a situation where we have conversations to understand and look at things from other people's lenses and not marginalize what they're saying, because that's their truth. And that doesn't mean that you have to understand it. That doesn't mean they're pointing blame, but take it as their truth and try to figure out how we can do something to ensure that they feel like they're safe. So it's about the work we're doing right now and the work we're going to continue to do, but it does take conversation. It does takes getting to uncomfortable spaces to have those conversations. So just want to share that and just say, before you act, before you step out and respond, take an opportunity to sit back, listen to the person, try to put yourself in their body and look at it from their lens before you respond. And I think that's a lot of the issues and concerns we have around this work. That is a majority of the problem. Other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Faulkner. You want to go? Commissioner Steed?
Okay, so I had the opportunity to judge the third grade history contest for the Temecula History Museum, which was amazing. Those kids were phenomenal. They did videos and they did these poster boards and they built dioramas, and it was really, really cool. And I actually learned a lot about the tribe's histories and just how they lived and the traditions and the little games that they played. So if you ever get the opportunity to dive into that, it is phenomenal. They all did a phenomenal job. I also went to a fundraiser for Michelle's Place, Shine a Light on Cancer, and they shared some statistics with us. A normal month pre-COVID, they'd get about 35 new people in the doors to Michelle's Place Cancer Resource Center. In March, they had about 70 people, so it's double the amount of people that, I don't know if people are just getting diagnosed all of a sudden. I don't know if they were just ignoring this through the last 2 years, but whatever it is, we have a large segment of our community that needs help, that is crying out for help, and we always need to keep that in mind. And if you can help out with people that have illnesses in any way, shape, or form, they definitely need our help. I also participated in the Board of Realtors, DEI. It was How to Be Fair in Fair Housing. We heard from NAR, WCR, and NAREP. Just great speakers, very invigorated, very motivated, and it's nice to see that the real estate community is really staying on top of this and continuing to have the very, very hard discussions. There's a lot of history to that, and it's nice to see that people aren't pushing that under the rug, that they're really facing it head on and seeing what can be done in the future. And lastly, the Chamber of Commerce just had their gala, and I just wanted to mention that our wonderful Commissioner Kathy Sizemore won Ambassador of the Year, and if that wasn't enough, she was then called back up stage because her company won Small Business of the Year. So congratulations to Commissioner Sizemore and her family. They have a phenomenal alarm business here in town, and she represents us all really, really well. So that is it for me.
Much. So mine is going to be brief, but I'm going to start off with the Fair Housing Act because April is National Fair Housing Month, and that bill was put into law in 1968. So I also was on that same Zoom. Basically, there was one question that stuck out to me. It says we need to think about how we can advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in our life, on our jobs, in our day-to-day activities. The more we think about DEI when we're doing business, when we're meeting people, they just said that the better off people will be on understanding your culture. I attended the Chamber-sponsored legislative summit that was really good, hosted by the city, I think it was our chamber, Temecula Chamber. And then I had the honor of doing a promo for the Cultural Fest, representing the REDI, I haven't seen it yet, representing the REDI Commission, so thank you for the opportunity to do that. And then I attended also the Easter egg hunt, but I was in Birdsall in Wolf Creek, and it was well attended, so kudos to the Community Service Department in Temecula. They did a fabulous job. And then I was on another webinar. This one was on tackling tough conversations. And basically, they were sharing with us how to create an open dialogue and how to have that conversation that we need to create the change that we want. And I think a lot of people are curious because they really want to have that conversation, but they don't know where to start. And I think if we just can get the initiation to do it, I think you're going to see a lot more people being more open, engaging more, and feeling more empathetic. And with that, I just wanted to share this because one of the books that was quoted is Cast, and that book is by Isabel Wilkerson, and she had this quoted in her book, and I just wanted to share. It says, "Empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy is looking across at someone and feeling sorrow, often in times of loss. Empathy is not pity, for pity is looking down from above and feeling a distant sadness for another in their misfortune. Empathy is commonly viewed as putting yourself in someone else's shoes and imagining how you would feel. That could be seen as a start, but this is little more than role playing. It is not enough in this ruptured world we live in, but it is a start. Let's start putting ourselves into the position, into the shoes of others, and then maybe we can understand where they're coming from." So that completes my report.
Hi. This is a difficult one for me because this will be my last meeting as a commissioner for the REDI Commission. As I know my fellow commissioners know, and I've spoken about it before, I got a new job with Partners for Justice a couple of months ago, where I'm working alongside the Compton Public Defender's Office as a client advocate. So I've been working with public defenders to provide alternative pathways for our clients instead of becoming incarcerated. And a lot of that is identifying barriers for a lot of individuals. So there's people who've grown up their whole life with schizoaffective disorders who have never been diagnosed, who instead of perhaps being incarcerated is now can be linked to mental health services through mental health diversion. I work a lot with people who are homeless, unidentified disabilities, individuals who have autism and have never been diagnosed and they're 22 years old, substance abuse disorders, working really intimately with family members and looking for services that a lot of the time aren't there. Most of these things that I talk about don't exist for people who can't afford them and are extremely difficult to find in low-income Black and brown communities. So it's hard work, but it's been really absolutely meaningful. And I, through my work with my clients, just fell in love with Compton and its citizens. And as I began my work at the Compton Community Garden when I was tapped on the shoulder to be a part of the administrative board, it was a time to make a difficult decision. But the people of Compton are absolutely amazing and resilient. And although difficult, it was just a moment to kind of decide to transition. So I'm transitioning to different work, but very similar. And thank you all so much for this journey. This is really huge for me. And because of that, because of moving, I didn't get to work as much within the city as I'd like to, and I typically do. But two big things. I wrote an article for NBC News that was released about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, and also a little bit about the work that I do here, my experience as a Black woman in a political space. And that was huge. It was #1 on their politics and policy page for several days. Really proud of that. And I also gave a talk for the University of Utah to a justice advocacy class that was focused on people who are like young activists and how they're starting their career. So it was really interesting to talk about what you would consider a career that I've had, but also like the work that I've done here. So it's always an amazing moment for me to talk about Temecula and what it means to be engaged in local government. But really, I want to take this moment to say thank you to city staff. Thank you to the city council that appointed me, because I want to try to not get emotional, but as a person who was 4 years old and grew up here from a family, median income, who really came here just to provide a better life for their daughter, for their children, to be able to sit in this place, to be able to have my opinion counted in a serious way is huge. And I hope that there are other people who get to sit in my spot who feel that, because there's a lot of people who grow up here. As I have navigated LA, I keep finding people who are from Temecula, and they're like, yeah, I grew up there. And I'm like, here now. I'm like, we're everywhere. We're absolutely everywhere, anywhere I go. And just like the most absolutely amazing people. But just like, I hope that this space exists for like what can be possible and what this city means. It means bringing your family and having the American dream. And I think everyone along my journey, especially my teachers and my mentors who facilitated this. So it means a lot to me. Thank you all. Thank you all to my fellow commissioners for being on this journey with me. It has been interesting. It's been interesting, but like I like to say that I am the sum of all of my parts, and a part of me will always be Temecula. It will always be Temecula, and I am proud of that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Harris. I know you want us all to get teary eyes. Normally, we have the Kleenex here. I think they're all the way down there. Okay. Executive Director Joe, you're on.
I think I'm going to give my executive director comments first on Culture Fest, and then I want to say something about Commissioner Harris's departure. Let me first mention Culture Fest.
Yay!
Culture Fest, an idea that was driven by the REDI Commission that the City Council very proudly supported and backed. It is May 21st. We are 1 month away from Culture Fest. We had room for approximately 40 to 50 booths. We had over 100 applications.
Oh my God.
So the selection process will be undertaken by the community services staff, as they do with every event. And then we will also be briefing our REDI Commission liaisons, Mayor Ron and Councilmember Edwards, along the process as well, if they have any input on that as well. But the focus will definitely be for the vendors and the participants that have direct ties with the Culture Fest, with the REDI initiative, and the REDI Commission purpose and role and all of that. So we are just very excited. We were, our fingers were crossed. It's the first year, but very clearly it is something that the community wants. So Again, Saturday, May 21st, right here in the Quad. I also want to mention that for the League of California Cities, also known as Cal Cities, we have officially launched our Advancing Equity Community. It is amazing how far we have come in the last 4 years, I would say, in this space, because we actually started in this space before COVID. And the Advancing Equity Community is as more cities in the state of California, there's 482 cities, start to do DEI work in their communities. The Advancing Equity Community is an online forum for us practitioners. So that we can, it's got chat functions and all of that kind of good stuff, so that if your city is working on a strategic plan from anew, but some other city has already done it, that DEI officer, DEI staffer, irrespective of title, irrespective of rank, department, can jump on there and say, hey, I'm with city X. Are there any cities that have done a strategic plan on DEI? And we can jump in and say, hey, here's a copy of our presentation, here's a copy of our plan, and just all lift each other up and work together in doing this work. So if I sound super proud of this work, it is, as you guys know, I was chair of the Advancing Equity Committee for Cal Cities, and to watch this finally come to fruition, it's just amazing. And the executive director of the League of California Cities, Carolyn Coleman, as well as the board of directors, the full board of directors, unanimously supported this work and the work plan. So kudos to all those council members up and down the state that are serving on that Cal Cities board and the staffers that are moving this work forward.
Wow, congratulations.
And then lastly, Commissioner Harris, we are so beyond proud of you. We often say that our space in the middle as a Gen Xer is to honor those and celebrate those that came before us while promoting and making space for those that are coming behind us. And you represent the next generation of all the goodness that is coming behind us. And we are so proud of you. We wish you well. It has been a joy as an executive director to listen to you, to watch you, to bring that youth perspective. So thank you. Stay in touch with all of us, and we will watch you from afar and applaud you from afar. That's it.
That's it? Okay. Do we have anything else? That's it. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being here as our guest, and I will officially adjourn our meeting, 7:30.